Allstate hot chocolate.
I'll stay for hot chocolate.
Your shirt says Allstate hot chocolate.
I got this at a 10K a 15K that I did.
It says 15K/5K. So is that 15 divided by 5? It was a 3K?
No, no, it's not division. I swear I did 15K.
It has a division sign.
You mean a slash?
It's a division marker.
It has one of those division markers.
Yeah, so you know when to divide.
Speaking of dividing, I'm so glad I don't have children. I have to homeschool right now.
My neighbor was texting me the other day and she was like, fucking fuck, you're lucky you don't have kids to homeschool. This is miserable. And I was like, yeah, girl, I don't envy you.
Yeah, my sister sent me, because she's homeschooling her 8-year-old, and she sent me a picture, and it was just like a sheet of long division stuff, and the kids haven't learned long division yet, and she was like, I don't remember how to do this. Help, because I have to show Stacy.
Google.
I know. I was like, there's a Google for that.
Google
Seriously.
can teach your kids.
Yeah.
Just set them in front of the computer and say, just Google all day and learn things. That's what I would do if I was homeschooling. I'd be like, just type random things into Google and teach yourself.
I mean, that worries me, but just type some random stuff in there.
They're going to go back to school and just lay some shit down for other kids.
No, they type in like free candy and meet some like internet weirdo.
Oh, no.
I know.
No.
Don't do it.
I'll give them a list of things they're not allowed to type in.
Really? You think that they'll listen to that? Don't type in butts.
But yeah, I was just going to say, you would have to think of every body part and then every way to say it. Like boobies, titties.
And then they would bring
butts,
a sheet.
Butts.
Buddies?
Butt cheeks.
Caitlin calls them buddies.
Butt heads.
No, that's horrible. They would bring
Shake your buddy.
Nutty buddy. Oh no. Oh no.
No, okay. Sarah and I are no longer allowed to Google things.
I was just going to say they would bring that to school though and be like, my teacher, my mom said I can't look these things up. And it would be like terrible
The
words.
teacher would be like, yeah, you can't look those things up. Yeah, right. If you put a list down in front of your kid and you were like, do not Google these things, the second you turned around, they would Google everything on that list.
Have you ever had any like unfortunate Google accidents?
No, I don't think so. Have you?
Yeah, I feel like that happens when you try to Google something innocent and then like something comes up that you're like, no, that's not, no. So I was trying to Google, I was writing something and I wanted it to sound cute and it was about macaroni and cheese. And so I was looking up sounds like mac and cheese, like to rhyme, like words that sounded like mac and cheese. And instead something came up that it was like, which, sorry, it's a little vulgar, guys, but it was like, when the pussy sounds like mac and cheese. And I was like, no, shut it down.
No.
Shut it down.
Okay. Yeah, no, that's never happened to me.
Yeah, it's horrifying.
I did once. No, I shouldn't say this on here. I'll save it for Patreon. If you want a juicy story, you have to subscribe. Okay, I'll open the beer. You tell them what our theme is.
Okay. So our theme today is something different and fun because in Arizona, we're missing the pools because they're all closed everywhere. So our theme is water.
I'm not missing the pools.
Well, Caitlin and I can't swim, actually. So I feel like sometimes I just talk.
To go with water doesn't go with it at all. So I went to Total Wine before this, and Total Wine was packed, and people were not respecting my space. So I literally went down the beer aisle and grabbed 6 random beers as fast as I could.
And if you're listening to this a year from now, Caitlin does not mean that she's like a diva and has personal space. This is quarantine space.
Coronavirus is still happening. So there were people just all up in my space, not respecting my 6 feet, which I know is hard to do when you're shopping. And I get you're going to get a little closer. But people were literally like, I was looking at one section and you kind of do the thing and you wait and then you like swap, right? Nope. They were getting right up in there and putting their face by mine. So I just grabbed 6 beers and got out of there. But I did pick good beers. So this is one. And this actually is from the place that my case is. How? I didn't even notice that until just now. It's from Illinois. My case is in Illinois.
Wow. Okay.
This says Normal, Illinois. It's Destihl Brewing, Destihl. And it is a Pilsner called Normal Pils. This is going to make us normal. It says Cream Crisp Pale.
Oh, I hope it makes us normal.
I don't.
I hope it does not make us normal.
Flavors of sweet malt with earthy floral hops come to the front before finishing crisp and dry. Cheers.
Let's try her.
Oh, it says support flavor, boycott bland.
Okay. There she go. Save some for you. While Caitlin's pouring, I would like to give a shout out to a new Patreon member, Clementine. We just want to say hi to you. And we're going to cheers to Clementine.
Buddy.
To Clementine. Ooh, I like that. It hasn't chilled much, but it's a nice flavor. It's bitter.
It is flavorful for a pills.
Yeah, it sits on. I feel like it sits in the throat, the bitterness. Stop it, Caitlin. Just hit her face on the microphone.
Specifically my nose. What? This is why Google got taken away from me. We already talked about this.
We're going to add that to the do not Google list. Sits in the throat.
So with our theme of water, I am going to start by telling you the case of Cynthia Harisco. My sources, the Chicago Tribune, an article by George
Foreman.
Howd.
Okay.
Who dat? Daily Herald, an article by Barbara Vitello. A couple articles, actually. ABC 7 News in Chicago. Find a Grave. Illinois Court Records. I glanced through the transcript. And NBC News. There's no Wikipedia page, and it was hard to find a ton of information. Mm-hmm. But drowning or homicide? That is the question in the case of Cynthia Harisco's death.
Bum, bum, bum. I read something that said drowning is like one of the hardest types of murder to prove.
I'm going to talk about that at the end. I did some research on that. Sip of beer. Save water, drink beer.
Yes.
Remember, drink water after so you're not too hungover.
Yeah.
That should go on the back of the t-shirt. You know, there's shirts that say save water, drink beer. Yeah. The back should say, but then drink the water.
Yeah. Like pro tip,
or
actually,
Gatorade.
you really need that. So just drink it after.
Gatorade. Okay. Cynthia was 47 at the time of her death on February 28th, 2000. So this case is, 20 years old.
Oh, God. Okay.
Like in a lot of cases we've covered, it was difficult to find a lot of information about who Cynthia was as a person, which I really hate. When we tell these stories, I really want to start it with saying like Cynthia was this and this. Like I really want to talk about the victim as a person, but I think as a society we focus so much on the murderer. Like you can always find like when the murderer was born, what school they went to, but you can't find that about the victim, which
it's weird.
Really drives me crazy. Yeah.
Well, and the other issue too is we like to cover cases. If you aren't a listener, we like to cover cases that most podcasts don't cover. So like, and because of that, they're not as reported. So I understand why they don't get covered because there isn't as much information, but
yeah.
We dig deep.
Yeah. And with the case this old, like her obituary wasn't out there anymore that I could find.
Oh, yeah.
Okay. But what I do know, according to her mother, Sophie, Cynthia suffered from bad rheumatoid arthritis. And at one point she was wheelchair bound, but her illness inspired her to get a nutrition degree and become a nutrition counselor because she wanted to be healthier and help others do the same. Which I know RA isn't caused by what you eat, but with any disease or something you have, the healthier you can be, the better overall.
It is.
Yeah. So she got her nutrition degree and she actually ran her nutrition business out of her home where she lived with her husband, Frank Buschauer, and their 13-month-old adopted son.
Oh.
One thing her mom also pointed out was that Cynthia took baths often to help ease her pain from rheumatoid arthritis. And she allegedly took a bath on the night of her death. Like that's literally all I could find about Cynthia, which drove me crazy. She had RA and got a nutrition degree. But late on the night of February 28th in the year 2000, just so long ago. Oh my God. Frank, her husband, Cynthia's husband, called police to tell them that he found his wife drowned in the bathtub. When police arrived, they found Cynthia lying naked, face down on the floor of the couple's master bedroom. Right. Like picture that scene. That is not what I would imagine the condition your spouse would be in.
If they drown in the bathtub, I feel like you would probably pull them out of the bathtub and they'd be sopping wet and they probably would be nude, but you'd probably leave them in the bathroom to try to do CPR. Like,
well, she was in the bathroom, laying on the floor of their master bathroom, but face down.
See, that's a little.
Oh, maybe I didn't.
No, you said face down.
Yeah, so face down naked on the floor of the couple's master bathroom. I guess I didn't finish that sentence. So she was in the bathroom, but that already seems weird to me because you might pull them out, but...
Well, you'd either like sit them up or have them lying on their back or like... I feel like if you thought there was water in their lungs, you'd sit them up or something. Like, I don't know. I'm not sure.
I don't feel like I'd lay... I mean, I'm not married, so I can't talk, but I don't feel like I'd lay them face down. She had a bruise on the left side of her neck, abrasions on both hands, and one on her left knee.
Oh.
She also had hemorrhaging in her neck due to severe trauma, and she had blood foaming from her nose and mouth. Rigor mortis had already set in by the time the cops got there.
No, rigor mortis takes hours. Nope.
So I just set the scene, right? This is how they found her. Her cause of death was quickly ruled a drowning, obviously, but the manner listed was undetermined. So, cause was drowning, but the manner, it wasn't a homicide or a suicide. It was just undetermined. Frank told police that he had gone to bed early that night without his wife. He said he woke up around 2:30 in the morning to the baby crying. So they had that 13-month-old adopted son. When he saw his wife had never come to bed, he went and looked for her, and he said he went into the bathroom and found her unconscious in the tub. So he pulled her out and then called 911. Pulled her out and laid her face down, remember.
The one thing I always wonder, was the bathtub still filled with water? I feel like I wouldn't, the last thing I'd think about is draining the tub.
It's funny, wait till we get to the end. Not funny, but sorry, that was a bad choice of words.
No, I know what you mean.
Yeah, so I don't know. I didn't actually find, no, there was definitely water. Which will make sense in a second. But he also apparently told police, and I found this in every article that I looked at and with an interview with the guy I'll talk about, the police. But Frank told police he may have killed his wife, but he couldn't remember.
Excuse me?
And that was it. No charges were filed. Police were like, okay, well, she drowned and we don't know how, but you don't remember. So no charges were filed and they just walked away.
What?
Now, before I move forward a few years, I want to first hit you guys with a motive brought up by Sophie, the victim's mom, and by a couple friends of the couple, because motive is important.
A couple friends.
Couple friends. Okay, just a little background. The couple's home was new. It was an $800,000 home that they had just had built.
Wow.
At first, Cynthia was super happy in the home, but then I don't know if the home had a lot of issues or if she had a lot of issues with the home, but I do know that she complained to her husband and her mom and friends all the time. Doors and windows would stick. They wouldn't open right. It was just one thing after another. Cynthia literally just complained to everyone about this home all the time. It got to the point where Cynthia wanted to sue the contractor over the issues and of the cost overruns. Frank became super angry and refused. The contractor was Frank's cousin.
Well, it sounds like he did of course, I don't know all the details, but it sounds like he did some shoddy work. And to be fair, I don't know if she's still wheelchair bound, but when you have some handicaps or physical limitations, you need things to be running smoothly.
Right. You need the door and the windows to open easily.
Or at least normally.
Yeah.
And not stick all the time because you might not have the strength or the ability or whatever it is to get those things open. So I understand the frustration.
Right. Their fights about this became so bad that the couple sought counseling. And in part of the counseling, they wrote letters to each other as part of the sessions. These letters were later seized by police. In one of the letters that Frank wrote to his wife, and I guess they never exchanged them. They wrote them to each other, and obviously the counselor had them, and that's how they were able to seize them. But Frank wrote to his wife about how angry he was with her and literally said, quote, "There are times I could kill you," which I know. I thought about this a lot because I know there's times when you're like, oh my God, I could kill him. You say that you're like, oh, he didn't do the dishes. I could murder him.
Yeah.
But to go to counseling and write that in a letter seems like a different level to me.
Seems like a ton of anger.
Yeah. And I just can't imagine writing that down ever. Granted, I don't want to judge this situation too much because literally when they were working on my deck, I was like, oh my God, I'm going to murder them. They're making so much noise. I know we all say stuff like that, but
to write it in a counseling session seems a little bit odd. In
a letter to that person, even if you're not, it's just weird. I don't know. Yeah. To me, it's very I hate my mom when you're in 5th grade and you're writing. I don't know. It seems like a very weird thing to do.
Yeah.
Okay. So now fast forward, we're in 2010, 10 years later. Bryant Hanazuski, who in 2000 was the first officer to arrive at the scene and discover Cynthia. Now in 2010, he's a detective. So Bryant, this case stuck with him. He cannot forget about it. So he goes to prosecutors and asks them to reopen the case. And he gets other pathologists hired to review Cynthia's autopsy. The current medical examiner re-looks at everything and actually reclassifies Cynthia's death as homicide and said that there is blatant physical evidence that the victim was, quote, forcibly submerged in the bathtub. Based on all of the bruising.
She had a lot of injuries. Her hands, for example.
Her neck was hemorrhaging.
Yeah, and blood out the mouth and nose. Maybe that's common, but either way, she had a plethora of things to choose from.
Yeah, and I'll get more into the police work at the end.
Mm-hmm.
So finally in 2013, so Bryant opens up the case, does all this research, gets her